Hello and welcome to the podcast, Life's Second Act. This is the podcast that delves into the transformative phase of later life, exploring its challenges, new directions and uncertainties that come with it. And we do that through talking to people who have a story to tell, an insight to share or a snippet of something special. My name is Simon Burgess and in this episode we speak to Rachel Williams.
You know, when I had that sort of, is this it moment, I had no idea what was going to happen during the next 12 months or 6 months in my life that would make it radically change. It's like, wow, it has been sort of like, you know, hold on to your hats, you know, here we go. We all have an expiry date. We don't know when we're going to go, but, you know, it's just making the most of life and enjoying it. I think that's so important.
Rachel is the founder of Zest Lifestyle, the employee wellness consultancy that helps people live healthier lives and helps businesses enjoy the benefits of a healthier workforce. They can provide health checks, advice and coaching to help with everyday choices to feel better. Rachel is 60 and more full of life than ever before. However, it's not always been that way. She has worked through two very transformative changes in her life, one professionally and one personally, about 15 years apart, both instrumental in a shift towards a better, more fulfilling life. Neither easy and not without its challenges. Rachel loves cooking and creating in the kitchen. She loves gadgets, walking, hiking. She loves seeing live performances, be it music, comedy and science. She used to hate public speaking, but now she loves it. And she is a nearly all year round sea swimmer. Rachel, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Simon.
So let me set a little bit of context for the episode. Today is really focused on changing direction in later life and how to navigate that change. Any change can be an emotional roller coaster. How can we push through, keep strong and positive, and what can we learn from the experience? Through Rachel's experience, I'm hoping that combined with what she does with her team at Zest Lifestyle, I hope to find out a few simple, easy to action lifestyle changes that may help us when faced with that change. But before we get into that, Rachel, when we talk generically about finding direction and purpose, what does that mean to you?
For me, it is having that fulfilling life. I live very much by the mantra of carpe diem, being healthy, but also being me as well. And I think that's very important because I did lose that sort of presence of being me several years ago and I had to do something about it.
If you had to put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being my life is sorted, I love it, couldn't be any better, 1 being I have no idea where I'm going, I'm lost, where would you put yourself on that scale at the moment?
Oh gosh, I'd say probably about 8.5. I won't actually use halves.
That sounds good. That sounds pretty good, actually, 8.5. It wasn't always that way, though, was it? So let's dial back a little bit. You're 60 now and probably got more passion for life than ever before. And I think you have some ideas and thoughts for putting yourself in the best place for change, most of which you've obviously used to help you through your own personal experience. You've gone through 2 seismic shifts in your life, one professionally and one personally. Can you talk me through that first one in your late 30s and what the real catalyst was for that change? And what was the moment deep down you knew you had to do something?
Yes, well, I was 37 and I wasn't particularly healthy. So it was before I was working in employee wellbeing and I was working in the telecom sector, organising events and conferences all around Europe. And I described what I had was a jet set lifestyle. So I was flying off to Europe every few weeks for a week or 10 days at a time, staying in 5-star hotels, eating in lovely restaurants. But I was very unhealthy. I was about 3.5 stone heavier than I am now. Hardly did any exercise, was smoking between 20 to 40 cigarettes a day, drinking a bottle of wine a night. So consequently, I was on my way to burnout. And I had an epiphany moment in a hotel room in Barcelona. And I just woke up this one particular morning after having had a late night, been out with clients, had too many tapas, smoked too many Spanish cigarettes, too much Rioja. And I just caught my reflection in the mirror of the hotel room on the way to the bathroom. I don't know what it was about this particular morning or these particular mirrors, but I just caught my reflection and I just looked at myself and I had what I called my WTF moment. And I just thought, what are you doing? You are 3 years away from being 40. You are an absolute mess. You're overweight. You're pale. You've got dark shadows under your eyes. Your skin looks rubbish. You're 40 in 3 years' time. So what are you going to do to improve the way you look and the way you feel? So, I've been on numerous diets, probably ever since the age of about 16. So it was like 21 years worth of dieting and all it got me was fatter. So I thought, right, I'm going to quit with this dieting thing. I'm just going to find a healthy way through. I found this program. It's 30 days and I think it was called the detox diet. And it wasn't like juicing or anything like that. It was eating proper healthy food. Anyway, I was eating more than I would have done normally on this program, and I was losing weight. It's like, wow. And then I thought, right, I'm going to join a gym. I got myself a personal trainer and I got into my exercise. And I'll probably say within 6 weeks, I noticed a difference in the way I looked and felt. I also gave up the cigarettes. I just did it. I tried numerous times before giving up. It hadn't happened. And I also cut down on the drinking. So within 6 weeks, I could see a change. So it took me probably about 6 months to get like really healthy, but I wasn't living like a Tibetan monk, living on just like lentils and tofu all the whole time. I was eating really good, proper food, i.e. healthy proteins, vegetables and a bit of fruit, and treating myself at weekends. And that is really how I did it. And that's really what inspired me to start my business. And it was kind of a bit of a nudge from somebody that I knew that said, you were just, it's amazing what you've done and how you've transformed. And I went, yeah. I said, it's amazing that, people keep asking me how I did it. I said, I should get paid for the amount of free advice I give. And she said, why don't you? And that was how my own business sparked, really. I trained in various disciplines, personal training and nutrition and doing all the mind stuff like NLP and cognitive behavior therapy and Pilates and various other things. And that's really what got me started into having my own business, which I've had for about 20 years now.
Fantastic. But it's such a shift, isn't it, from what you were doing?
Yes.
Did you just know deep down there was that burning desire that the work wasn't delivering, wasn't giving you that purpose? Because it's still quite a tough thing to do, isn't it? Change like that, just in your late 30s, suddenly go, actually, I'm going to ditch everything I've done and now I'm going to do something completely different.
Well, I think if somebody had said to me, about sort of 3 or 4 years previous to me making my change, that you're going to become a personal trainer, I would have just, fallen over, with shock. But I don't know. It was just deep down, I felt it was right. When my friend sort of said, why don't you become a personal trainer and nutrition and help people get healthy, it just took me about 24 hours to think about it. And within 48 hours, I'd actually found the courses that I needed to do. And I was just like a woman on a mission. I didn't even think about it. It was just like, this is right. This inner wisdom that I had, that this is the right path to go. I just didn't look back. And after I gave up my corporate job, I thought, right, I'm going to give myself 9 months to find 9 clients. And I did it. And I've just never looked back.
So it sounds like late 30s, your career professionally is shaping up nicely, you're feeling better, a little bit more direction in life, but early 50s and you woke up one morning and you said to yourself, is this it? What happened then?
I'd been married for 30 years and I guess, we loved each other, but I guess the marriage had run its course and for various reasons I just felt stuck. And I felt I wasn't being me. We touched on this at the beginning of the podcast. And I found that when I was out networking and I was with my friends, I was me. I was the real Rachel. And I used to come home and it was just like this whole sort of dread. And I woke up this one particular morning in February 2017, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, God, is this it? Is this my life? It just lacked excitement and adventure. And I thought, I'm in my early 50s. You know, I've been going through menopause. I'd had quite a tough time with menopause due to a lot of stress that I had, some from the marriage. And it was just so weird because it was like the universe then sort of like took me, whether the universe is a he or a she or an it, just took me in its arms. And then just kind of, again, I had to trust the process. I had no idea that year I would leave my husband of 30 years and move to London, get into a new relationship and have this completely new life of adventure and travel and finding a new social circle. And it was just amazing. But I had to take that leap into that abyss and just trust that everything was going to go okay. And it did. You know, there were tough times, there were upsetting times, there was grief from a marriage that had fallen apart. But for me, that decision to do that action, to then sort of go, okay, right, I'm going to make this change. This is the next stage of my life and I need to make that change to be able to carry on and enjoy it. And yeah, that's what I did. Yeah. So a lot of people say I was very brave to do it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, again, it's after 30 years, but it's still hard, isn't it? It's still to actually make that change. Do you think the fact that you'd made that change earlier in your late 30s and it worked out right gave you any sense of, I can believe in myself and believe in the process and it will be okay? Or was it very, very different?
Oh, good question. I think it was different because being in health, I thought that with menopause, I was determined to have like the best menopause, that it wouldn't affect me in any way. I was healthy. And I'd almost been like planning it working with coaches, and these are the things that I'm doing to make sure that my body and my mind is in the best place where, when it happens. And I think I went through sort of parts of perimenopause being fine. But what I didn't understand was stress is just such a massive thing for triggering menopause symptoms. And boy, did I have it bad. It was like a freight train just hit me and all my hormones had flatlined. I felt very depressed. At some points I was really kind of quite desperate. I wasn't quite suicidal, but I was very, very low. I wasn't sleeping and I just felt dreadful. Fortunately, I had help through a nutritionist and then a functional doctor, and I take bioidentical hormones, and so that helped kind of lift me up. But, when I had that sort of, is this it moment, I had no idea what was going to happen during the next 12 months or 6 months in my life that would make it radically change. And what happened was an old friend of mine got in touch and said, I'm moving up to London, I'm looking for a flatmate. And that was like, oh my God, if I make the move now, I'll have a roof over my head. So it was like, okay, fine. All right, that bit is sorted. I still had my business, so that was good. And then I had a lot of supportive friends that when I said that I'd split up with my husband, they were like, great. Everybody actually said, I think you're doing the wrong thing. Everyone went, we'll support you, we will help you. So it was just like everything was mapped out for me.
I was just going to say, how did you keep strong? But I guess friends helped you through that. What else helped you keep strong in those times?
My family as well. My dad and my brother. They were great for that sort of emotional support as well. I just trusted that everything was going to be okay, and it did. And I met Mark, call him husband number 2. I don't want any more husbands. But what was quite weird is that we did know each other before. We both thought we were both happily married. His marriage had split up before mine, and it was actually a walk that brought us together, and things just developed from there. He was on a charity sort of like fundraising walk along the Ridgeway, and We went on this walk and we just talked for hours and hours and hours. I think we walked about 18 miles together. Everything just happened from there on.
Brilliant. What did those changes, those big changes, teach you about yourself or about being brave or following your intuition? Could you have envisaged how much better your life is now?
Well, I think for my own sanity, looking after my mental well-being was really important, and being happy with my life and being able to change it and to have that confidence to be able to change it and to live my life in the way that I wanted to live it, and to have the ability to be able to travel, to do exciting things. You know, all the things that we discussed at the beginning of the recording, all the things that I love doing, I do so much more of them now. And sometimes a bit too much. I have to rein it in a bit. But for me, you know, turning 60 in November was it was a big thing for me. And it's thinking about the next decade of my life. So from the age of 53, I didn't enjoy turning 50. So at the age of 53, having made that change, and then up to 60, it's like, wow, it has been sort of like, go with the flow, hold on for the ride, you know, hold on to your hats, you know, here we go. So it's taught me to really sort of like plan like the next stages of my life. So for me, 60 to 70 is really important, looking after my health, being happy, doing as much as you can in these sort of like golden years. It is so important that you just look after yourself and you live your life. We all have an expiry date. We don't know when we're going to go, but, you know, it's just making the most of life and enjoying it. I think that's so important.
So retirement not on your radar at the moment then?
Yeah, I call it the R word. No. What's great about what I do is that I love inspiring people to get healthy and helping them increase their health span rather than their lifespan, so the number of years that they are healthy. So whether they're in their 20s, 60s or 70s, it doesn't matter. And one of the things that I've done to kind of future-proof my business is have a platform which is on a subscription basis, which companies can sign up for. And I'm just in the middle of having that platform upgraded to a new one. So that means that I've got monthly recurring revenue coming in. And then I love going out and talking to audiences. I much prefer going out and speaking to a live audience rather than it being on a webinar, because everybody has their cameras turned off and you can't kind of gauge the room, if you like. So for me to actually go out and be with people, so I just love it. And I think it's great for people to kind of feed off the changes that I've made and actually see that I don't look like I'm 60. I'm quite confident in saying that.
You don't at all.
When I went on my scales this morning, which do your fitness age or your metabolic age, so I'm 45, so I'm quite happy with that. They don't go more than 15 years, but 45 is fine.
That sounds good to me. We'll come on to some of those, the nutrition and exercise and how you can be in a better place mentally to maybe make those changes in a minute. But what can people do, or what can we do, what can I do about exploring, encouraging change if we feel stuck?
I'm always a person that likes to do goal setting. And what was actually quite funny at the beginning of 2017 was that I'd done a vision board. So I did it in an application called Trello. So you can sort of write things and you can put sort of images in. And I'm not sure actually if you want to edit this bit out, but I put saying, I want to have more sex. But I didn't say specifically with who. I thought it was going to be with my husband because our relationship was a bit more lackluster. Well, I didn't realise that it would be with somebody else. So what I say is, with your goals, be quite specific.
Yeah.
So, having vision boards. Actually, but I haven't actually done a vision board since 2017. But writing down your goals, it's like, what do you want out of life? I kind of describe what I did in 2017 as detonating my life, but in a positive way. So we talk about people having a midlife crisis and things like that, but I detonated it. It was just like I went, and then just changed everything. But I appreciate some people can't do that. They don't have the confidence. But it is thinking about what is it you want. Maybe in some ways you have to kind of manifest it a little bit. You have to write it down. You have to write down the baby steps for getting there. It is having a vision. It's like, what do you want the next few years of your life to look like? And, for me, I felt stuck in my 50s. So it's like, what does 50 to 60 look like? And my next stage is, what does 60 to 70 look like? It may be that you need to talk to someone, you need to have a coach or speak to a friend or a therapist. It's what's going to work for you. So, for example, I went through a bit of a stressful period before Christmas for various reasons, and I'm working with a female coach, and she's very much on working with your inner wisdom. So it's a different kind of coach, so that it's going to help me grow as a person. So that's kind of what I'm going. So I'm very much for talking to people who might be able to get the best out of me if you don't know yourself.
I suppose one of the things that I'm working through a little bit is actually being allowed to set a goal for myself. And it's okay that I might want something different. And I'm sort of exploring a little bit my kind of default thinking patterns as to what is it in me sometimes that stops me. I'm not sure what the answer is, and that's part of the reason for the podcast and speaking to people like you, is I'm on that journey to try to understand what is it that stops me sometimes inside, just wanting to go, do you know what? I want to do that, or I want to do that. I think I've invested so much time of my life in my work. It's like, well, if you do take that away, I'm not quite sure what's left. And then trying to find new things, it's actually quite difficult. So let's talk a little bit about nutrition, exercise, and being in a really good place mentally. I guess sometimes, or can help you see maybe the road ahead a little bit more. Just talk to me a little bit more about Zest lifestyle and how you can help people change, having a healthier, more positive attitude to life, and maybe the 5 pillars as well.
Yeah, so my business works on 5 different pillars of health, or pillars of vitality. So number 1 is sleep. Number 2 is eat. Number 3 is move. Number 4 is think. And number 5 is pause. And then I've also got a sneaky extra pillar called body. We'll come to that one in a minute. But so sleep. So sleep, I think, is like the number 1 pillar for your health. It's so important because so much happens when we're in deep sleep. And then eating a healthy diet 80% of the time, I think, is important. If you need to lose weight, then that ratio has to change. So it's 90% of the time. So I work on 80-20 rules. So for me, it's relax the rules at the weekend, but eat healthily during the week. And that's eating good, healthy, wholesome food that's tasty. So I'm not living on cottage cheese and tofu and celery sticks. I love herbs and spices and just making my food really flavoursome. Watching your alcohol levels as well is another thing. Physical activity is, humans are designed to move. We're not designed to sit down all day. And as we get older, it's so important that we keep our physical strength going. We are keeping our muscle mass, either maintaining it or increasing it, because as we get older, we want to reduce the risk of lifestyle diseases, but also frailty and falls. It's horrible. You have to kind of think about those things, but we need to invest in our bodies kind of now. And then your mental health, or think, which is your mental health, is like, how can you reduce your stress levels and just look after your mind and making sure that you are in a positive frame of mind and you're, surrounding yourself with positive people. And then pause is all about restoration and recharging. I say to people, we'll have a mobile phone. When the batteries go down, we have to plug it in, or else there's no energy there. There's no juice in that phone. We're so bad at doing it for ourselves. So health is just so important. And I think I started to become a lot happier when I made that transition into looking after my health at the age of 37. And, obviously doing what I do, I have to walk my talk. But, I think, you still have to enjoy life, and having that nice meal out, or having that nice bottle of wine, or whatever, it is important, but we still do need to look after ourselves.
What else at Zest Lifestyle do you do? What are some of those other kind of services is it just businesses, or do you help individuals as well?
Okay, so obviously we have our subscription platform where we do talks and webinars and health consultations, but we also do health coaching. And this is where I work one-to-one with clients. It can be with people at any stage in their life. And actually, I've had a few people come to me who are making big changes in their life, whether they're selling their business or they're a CEO or head of an organization, and they just want to be able to speak to somebody who is non-judgmental, who can maybe guide them, with their health, but they just want someone to talk to. I love helping people, inspiring them. Any of your listeners want to speak to me and book a session, then, I'm happy to do that. So I only work with 10 people at one time. It's only part of what I do because I have obviously the corporate side. But it's one thing that I love doing is being able to help people and help them change. So whether it's a mental or a physical thing.
And what's great, because you are coming from a place of understanding. You're coming from a place of knowing how you have to push through difficult situations, aren't you? And I guess that really does add some value to it as well. Is that part of your offering in terms of saying, I've been there, I've gone through this? It's not, you haven't just read the book, you've actually gone through it and you've lived it, haven't you?
Yeah, and so I've been through it and got the T-shirt, well, several T-shirts probably. But yeah, because I always think it's important when you're with, you're working with someone that they've kind of had those same experiences. It's a bit like men doing talks on menopause. It's like, you have no idea what it's like. I've lived it and I've breathed it. Yeah, so right. So I think that's where I can help sort of give that guidance. And then obviously the older I get and the more experience I have with life, then the more I have to offer.
Brilliant. You spoke about goals. Can the goal be too overwhelming? And you think, it's like climbing a mountain, I guess. You can look at the mountain and go, I want to get up the top of that. But you think, oh my God, that's a long way out there, isn't it? And I've got to go through this valley and that valley and over that rock. And do you think sometimes people can focus on the wrong part? They focus too much on the end goal and not about the small steps that if you just make that little change today, then actually that sort of has like a compound.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yes. I mean, I think that is really, really important. It's like when I decided to lose weight 25 years ago, I started off with a 30-day program. I didn't even think, long term. I've been on so many diets. It's like, I'll just try this for 30 days. Tried it for 30 days and it worked. It's like, oh, this works. And it's a habit. But it just started off for 30 days. With my exercise, it was like, I hated gyms because I didn't know what to do. But getting a personal trainer who guided me was great. That's what kind of set me off on my path. And I've gone through running and I started off from like couch to 5K. And I did that a few years ago and probably to get out of the house away from my first husband. But I did 5Ks and then I thought, wow, let's just see if I can run a 10K. And I did. Very slowly. I'm a real plodder when I run. However, I do it. I've done it. It's just starting off small and just setting yourself this small goal. Can I do it? Breaking things down into smaller chunks. When I changed everything 25 years ago or 24 years ago, I did change a lot of things all at the same time, but I did lots of little things. When I gave up smoking, I didn't know whether or not that it would be for good. It just so happened it was because I could see the benefits of not smoking anymore. With the drink, it was like, okay, well, I'm not cutting it out completely, but I'm going to regulate what I have now and I'm just going to have it at the weekends. And I think the most important thing is that you're enjoying the journey and achieving the goal isn't actually the end because you need to still carry on. So it's having healthy habits.
Yeah.
What can I do to create healthier habits? And it is just instilling these small changes because small changes add up to be like massive. Look what happened to me.
And as a result of your change as well, you moved, didn't you? You've done cold water swimming and you've got a bucket list longer now than you've ever had.
Of course, yeah. Just grows by the day. We moved down to Dorset last year. Everybody goes, oh, you moved down to Dorset to retire? It's like, no. But the quality of life down here is just so much better. And we were living in Hertfordshire, which was great. It was lovely. But I love the coast. I love the sea, partly because I was brought up near the sea down in Devon. So we have got wonderful beaches here. And I was inspired by a friend of mine who joined the swimming group just after COVID. And they met every Friday on Sandbanks Beach. And I kept seeing her posting these photographs of everybody on the beach. And I was like jealous. I thought, I want to be a part of that group one day. And I am. And I have been doing it since July. And a few weeks ago, it was -6 when I left home. It was -2 at Sandbanks Beach. Water temperature was 8 degrees. Oh my God, the endorphin high afterwards was just incredible. No wetsuits. We wear neoprene gloves and boots and bobble hats. The bobble hats are very important. But how amazing it is to be swimming in the sea and see the sunrise. I just love it. And also this area has so much to offer with coastal walks and the countryside. You've got the New Forest. Just love it. Lots of artisan produce. Yeah, best place to live.
Brilliant.
So does that answer the question?
Yes, no, that's great. You said at the start that you were sort of like an 8.5 on that scale.
Yeah.
My question was going to be, what would push that up? You haven't got far to push it up really, but what might push it up half a notch or so?
I always think there's room for improvement. Maybe it is a 9. So talking about it, and I feel quite positive talking about all this stuff. But
yeah,
I've moved a house. We've just been, I wouldn't say renovating. It's only 3 years old, but I've just ripped out the kitchen and put a brand new kitchen in, and it's like the best thing ever. I've got my spice drawer, my big hob, and I just love it. It's just a great space to be in, and the house is just full of colour.
Yeah.
So I love where I live. I love the area where I live. So I can't really improve on that. But I guess having more time. So sometimes we just cram too much stuff in and we have to kind of go, whoa, okay, we need to sort of rein it back in again. It's like week before last, we went to 3 different gigs. We saw the comedian Jonathan Pye, Professor Brian Cox, and then the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, all within 5 days. I guess... it's just carry on and, experiencing all this sort of great stuff and keeping an eye out for all those experiences that you can do that are going to sort of like enhance your life. So on Saturday, we are going to go to a wine tasting school in Christchurch in Dorset, not New Zealand. Slightly different to what I do for a living, but just a passion I have. So I think it's just looking for opportunities all the time that enhance your life and help you meet new people. I'll probably say maybe instead of an 8.5, I'm a 9, because you've always got that one point that you can always it's always room for improvement.
Well, I think it's interesting because if I'd asked you at 50, 10 years ago, I think that would have been a bit lower on that scale there.
Yeah.
And obviously you've made some huge changes. You really have embraced change. There's no doubt about it, from your late 30s into your early 50s. And it's a real positive story. It wasn't easy. You've said that. There were no doubt some very low points and you had to work through it, but you did work through. And it's a really positive story, isn't it? It's lovely to hear. Have you got just like one final thought based on your experience that you've been through and how you've come through that, together with what you've learned through your business and Zest Lifestyle? What would be maybe a sort of a closing thought or two that you could leave us with?
I think that it's always important to reach out to someone you can talk to, someone who's not going to be judgmental about what is going on in your life, because sometimes, sharing that problem and just talking about it, just getting it off your chest, out of your head, I think is key. Try and find an organisation that can help you. So, for example, when I was at my low point during menopause, I went to the doctor and they weren't much help. And they just said I had adrenal fatigue and weren't going to do anything about it. So I was kind of desperate. And it's like, where do you find a therapist? Where do you even start? So I just Googled, I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. I Googled nervous breakdown. Various things came up and it was just like not the right thing. But then this pop-up ad came off on someone's blog, and it was an organisation called BetterHelp. And it's an online therapy service. Anyway, I got in touch with them and I had like online coaching for about 6 weeks, and it really helped me because I felt that I was able to just talk to someone, talk about all my issues and my problems and what was going on in my life and my health. It was just like the best thing ever. And that is kind of like some of my road to recovery after I had my is this it moment. I think it is important to speak to someone who can possibly just help you just get out of that rut.
Yeah.
And, and just kind of think about, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to achieve and do in my life?
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for being so honest and open about your lower points, but also lovely to hear those higher points. And it sounds like you've got so much more to do. And I look forward to hearing next time, whenever we speak next, what you'll be up to next, because who knows? So thanks, Rachel, very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I can't thank Rachel enough for coming on this journey with us today and sharing her very personal story about those two very big shifts in her life, one professional and one personal. Lovely to see that she's come through those and has more energy and passion for life than ever before. And of course, she touched on those 5 pillars of hers, the pillars of vitality. They were sleep, eat, move, think, and pause. And I think she added a cheeky one in there, body as well. All of which actually played a part in her own personal journey, making sure that she was in a good personal place for making those changes and pushing through what were some very difficult times. Something to maybe explore a little more. And I'll pop a website address in the show notes for you to take a look at Rachel's website if you fancy doing that. The other element that stuck with me was that healthy habits, small steps to slowly build and create a healthy habit that again hopefully puts us in a better place for dealing with what comes our way. So that's it for this episode, but please join me again next time when we continue the journey on life's second act. But until then, take care and goodbye.